You say, you can't influence others if you can't influence yourself. You say you'll wake up early, then scroll till 2 a.m. You say you'll go to the gym, then hit snooze. You say you will speak in the meeting, then overthink it till the meeting's over. We all do this. We break tiny promises to ourselves and tell ourselves it doesn't matter. But it does. The voice in your head is your most constant influence. And if you don't listen to your own voice, why should anyone else? If your actions match your words and your words match your values, people feel it, even before you speak. So sometimes the first person you need to convince is you. And I thought this was fantastic. And I wanted to just ask you, we understand that, hey, you know what? Like, for example, I genuinely want to wake up tomorrow morning early, right? And with all my intention, and I don't wake up the next day. I will feel bad. I will judge myself. And the pattern happens again and again. I want to break out of that pattern. How do we actually take that small step? Because, and if you can share your anecdotal experiences on how you conquered those small wins, and I think that is something we will all love to hear and learn from.
Absolutely. I'll give you my real life example itself. I used to wake up around 8 or so, and I realized when I'm waking up at 8, after having come back really late from work the last night, I miss my kids waking up. I miss getting them ready for school. By the time I wake up, they've already left. By the time I come back, they're already in bed. It's just this complete vacuum, and that's the worst way of living like a parent. I certainly don't want to. So I wanted to wake up before they got up, which was around 6. And it took me about 4.5 years to make that journey from 8 to about 4:30, which is when I wake up today. But here's how I made it. The promise that I made was not, I'll get up at 6, because that's a promise I absolutely will not be able to keep for more than 3 days. The promise that I made was, if I wake up at 8 today, tomorrow, for the next 1 week, I'm going to wake up at 7:50. Because that's a far easier promise to keep, and I'm sure I will keep it. And then when I hit 7:50 and it becomes regular, then the next promise is 7:40. Then the next promise is 7:30. The next promise is 7:20. You basically get your body used to something, not be in a hurry, and eventually you will get to your goal without it creating havoc in your life. And you will adapt to it like the way that we all do. And humans are incredible, by the way. I think the most resilient and adaptable organism on planet is the human mind. And we just do not give it enough credit. You think you can't live without food for 24 hours? Try it. You think you can't live without your cigarette or your social media or your alcohol or your parents or your partner and blah, blah, blah for 24 hours? Try it. I'm not encouraging you to try it, but the point is your mind can generally do whatever you set your mind to, should you give it that allowance. So I just make those tiny promises, and that's the key. It's tiny promises. Keep them. Your brain gets that reinforcement. And the next thing you know, which may be over some time, you're hitting the goal that you want to. So today, I wake up without an alarm between 4:30 and 5 every day, irrespective of when I sleep. Even if I sleep at 1 a.m., which I rarely do, but even if I were to, I will automatically get up between 4:30 and 5 because my body is just used to doing that for now several years.
So even breaking down the smaller goals.
Absolutely. Just tiny promises to keep. It's not like, I'll write the book. No, not that promise. I'll write every day. I'll write a page every day. Start with that. Make it 2, make it 3 pages. In a year, you will have the book. It'll just come out of its own.
You know, we were talking about influence, and what I wonder about sometimes is that there is so much influence in this world now, right? You have something that existed many years ago, which is your parents, right? That has not changed. But you chronically exist on the internet, right? I think you're the best person to answer this question. When there is so much influence, so many people telling you what to do, how do you truly know what your own influence is and should be to yourself?
That's a terrific question. I think early on, and I often say this, I do not envy your generation at all. In fact, I feel really sorry for your generation. And the honest answer is because you do have it really hard. Really, really hard. When, to your point, we were growing up, our sphere of influence were kids from school, kids at home. That's it. So when our parents said, "Usko dekho, wo kya kar raha hai," we actually knew who our parents were talking about. But today, they may just send you an Instagram post ki, here's a 12th grader CBSE ke result aaye hain. They got 99.9% and what have you done with it? Like I was just speaking to somebody from my colony. Her daughter just graduated from class 12th and I was asking her, how did she do? And she was like, terrible. I was expecting like 60%. She's just scored 91%. I like my life. So, but the truth is she's not going to get into any DU college. Even at 91%. Like she got 91% things right. And for the 9% that she didn't, for whatever reason, she's not going to make it to a North Campus college and blah, blah, blah. The influence is just unreal right now. And I wouldn't even call it positive influence. So here's how I think about it. Number one, I would actually, and this is almost like selfish, I will almost always unfollow or not follow anybody who makes me feel bad about who I am. Who makes me feel like I'm not good looking, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not rich enough, blah, blah, blah. They're basically just provoking. They're constantly telling you, you're not good enough, you don't have this, you don't have that, blah, blah, blah. And I will never follow that. Those could be family, those could certainly be individuals who are outside of the gamut. And I will almost always, by that same measure, follow people who are optimistic and positive. They have this vibrance, they have this enthusiasm, they make me feel like there is something to look forward to. And I will consciously feed that. Because the best thing is the algorithm is your slave. It is your absolutely best slave possible. You give it the signal and within 5 minutes, it will respond. So if you tell it, I need shitty things to just numb myself at the end of a really long day, it will give you the shittiest things in the world out there. And if you tell it, no, I, despite having the long day, need me to be reinforced by positive, optimistic, healthy content, it will give you that in 5 minutes because it doesn't have any dearth of it. It simply needs the signal coming from you. So you have to be smart to recognize that it is your slave. Because if you allow it, it will just absolutely topple. Science is really clear on this. We gravitate towards things that titillate us. We gravitate towards things that provoke us. The negative supersedes the positive 5:1 on an average. So even if, for example, I have my videos and people will be writing comments, oh my God, you're so good, you go that, and one will be like, you, that will hold 5x more weightage than any other positive thing that is applauding me for that. That's just the way our human brain is rewired because we are told over millions of years to be watching out for the negative because that ensured our survival. And now it's just manifesting into how we perceive that content. So you have to go and consciously chase positive content.
And you think doing that will help one recognize what they want their influence to be on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what you get when you consume healthy, good quality content, just like you consume good, healthy diet for your body, you begin to realize what parts of it are working for you and how. But it starts with a very basic thing. You feel good about yourself. So when people start going to the gym, they don't even know the science of it. They don't know the physiology of it. But if you ask them, they're like, I feel good. Because people are saying you're looking good, and I feel good, and I feel healthy, and I feel fresh and all that. And it's only a matter of time before they realize, oh, it's the protein and not the fat. Oh, it's the muscle and not the cardio, blah, 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 blah. But those are just details that come much later. In the beginning, it's just this feeling of I feel good. That's the same thing you want to do with your content as well. I just feel good after spending time on whatever platform it is. And Instagram is not shitty. YouTube is not shitty. Your algorithm is shitty because you've made it shitty. And you have to recognize that. You are the owner of it. They don't have anything against you. They simply want you to get addicted. It's your choice whether you want to get addicted to good or bad content.
Imani?
So you have mentioned that influence is based on goodwill, integrity and authenticity. Let's say that being authentic can make you unpopular or misunderstood. So in such cases, one should adapt to maintain influence or to stay authentic.
No, change the location. Absolutely change the location. It's like a relationship. It's the same thing that we were discussing. If you set a boundary and you're rejected, it's the wrong relationship. So if you're authentic and the person or the environment or the context rejects you, it's not the right place. And more so in professional settings, by the way, because professional settings are living organisms in my experience. They have a culture. DeKoder has a culture. And that culture will not be written on any wall. There'll be no poster. You'll just feel it every day in the way that it works, in the way conversations are held, in the way feedback is given, in the way feedback is received. All of that is the felt experience, the lived experience. And if your authenticity forces you to become somebody else in that experience, then it's virtually impossible to change the environment. And the question is, should you change yourself or you change the environment that you're in? And I'd argue, don't change yourself, change the environment, because there's no dearth of new environments. Unless, of course, this is something that is critical for you or your existence. And that's why it goes back to the same thing, that most resentful people are the ones who crushed their own selves. They lost themselves in trying to win over somebody else, their bosses, their partners, their parents, whosoever. Because they didn't change the environment, they just changed themselves.
In your book, you've written a bit about how in order for influence to work, you have to actually understand a person and not try to convince them of what your goal is. And then also a bit about how maybe it is a bit of a manipulation, or like it is a form of manipulation. So what I wanted to ask is, on a daily basis, how can I actually incorporate that, or like build the instinct that, okay, if someone is talking to me, how do I make them hear me or hear what I have to say?
The question that helps me a lot is, what is it that they know that I don't? It starts with the assumption that nobody in the morning gets up and says, I want to destroy your life today. Okay. Nobody cares. Their life is as it is hard. So if I find myself in resistance, or in conflict with somebody, let's assume that it's not because they hate me. It's because their worldview in some way has conditioned them to behave in this way. And I need to understand that worldview, because that's the only way I can understand this point of view. So the question you would ask is, what is it that they know that I don't? So here's a good example. And I'm only saying this because it could be applicable here. I'm not suggesting it is. You often find editorial and sales at loggerheads with each other. Because editorial is like, we're the purist, we're the independent voice, we're the ones that want to say what needs to be said. The sales one is like, bro, तुम्हारी salary, मेरी salary, सबकी salary, advertiser से आती है. They want to say this. So let's get to a point of view. Now imagine if that is the conflict, and you're the editorial, and in front of you is, let's say, somebody from sales, and you're like, this needs to go out, and they're pushing. At some point of time, you'll be convinced that they just hate you. But they have nothing against you. They have nothing against editorial as well. They're just doing their job. And their job is, I have to keep my advertisers at bay so that they keep paying, so that we keep earning as a business. So you can be on your own moral high ground, but you please understand where I'm coming from. And if you refuse to understand that, I'm not saying that you're wrong or right, but if you refuse to understand where they're coming from, there's no way that you'll ever be able to convince them. Ever. Because they're like, ये तो सुन ही नहीं रही है. ये समझ ही नहीं है कि मैं कहाँ से आ रहा हूँ. But if you're like, okay, I understand. Is it because X brand, who is one of the top paying brands on our platform, will be uncomfortable with this piece going out? Is that why you are behaving this way? And they're like, thank God. Now do you see it? Like, theek hai. If this is the problem, let's try to solve this together. Because now it's not against you and me, it's us versus the problem. And suddenly you will have them handshaking you, and you could hopefully solve that problem. As against sales wale to hote hi aise.